Howdy, folks. Welcome back to Terry Family Adventures. Today I feel like I'm in the Army because I'm hanging out with Major Mellon, and we're going to address a viewer comment.
Terry Family Adventures.
And Michael Horn writes, I love my 2011 Grand Cherokee Limited, but it's turned into a money pit requiring constant repairs and all parts are expensive. So what happened, Jeep? Why are the parts so expensive and so hard to fix? We're going to dive into that right now. It starts off with Jeep was originally a contract through the United States military to build an all-terrain, all-purpose vehicle with some, with certain characteristics. Like one of them had to be the four guys could pick it up if it got stuck and move it to dry ground. As normal military contracts go, it's always the lowest bidder, the most simplest thing. At the time, Willis Overland got the contract, and they started building Jeeps for the military. Well, after the war ended, a lot of soldiers and military people, when they come back from the war, they really fell in love with their Jeeps. And they looked around and they just could not find any vehicle out there on the market that compared with the Jeep that they had in the military. Well, they realized, Jeep realized that they could sell this to the civilian population and make a ton of money off of these soldiers returning from war that were absolutely in love with the Jeeps that they had during the war. And that's when they come out with what they call the CJ, which is the civilian Jeep. And at first, you could pretty much rebuild a Jeep with nothing but a half-inch socket and a crescent wrench. And you could take the whole vehicle apart, rebuild it, and put it all the way back together. Part of the design was that they were super simple like that. But then along comes Kaiser, and they bought Willis, and so they had the Jeep. And that's, the SJ, the Wagoneer, and everything like that came out. But their business strategy didn't work out. At that point, they were sold to AMC. And AMC is the company that built and designed the straight 640 that everybody is absolutely in love with. They call them bulletproof. After that, AMC, they came out with the XJ Cherokee. And Lee Iacocca, who was in charge of Chrysler at the time, thought that was the new wave of the future. That was going to be the next big thing. So Chrysler went out of their way to buy AMC, and they literally axed the company. They got rid of everything but the Jeep line. So then at that point, we have Chrysler in charge of Jeep. And they've done a pretty decent job at it. If you have one of these Chrysler Jeeps, you'll realize that the automatic transmissions in them they have something left to be desired. They're not exactly robust, or they don't live very long. I actually had a WJ, and we ended up putting more than one transmission in it. It had that 4.0 straight six. I mean, it was an amazing machine, but once the motor on it went kaput, that was it. I wasn't going to keep it alive. That's when we got our WK2. But that takes us to the next point, where Chrysler merged with Daimler-Benz. And that is the beginning of where Jeep took a major change. The Daimler Chrysler Corporation had decided to take Jeeps more into a luxury vehicle, especially the Grand Cherokee. That was the flagship of luxury for Jeep. And so at that point, they started borrowing parts from Mercedes and different high-end company, assets that they had Like my WK2 has a Mercedes transmission in it. Like with all of the German manufacturers, in Germany you can get parts fairly easy and find mechanics to work on them really easy. But in America, not so much. Now you're importing your parts. You have to find mechanics here that specialize in German engineering. And that made, the luxury of the Grand Cherokee and most of the Jeep line improved, but so did the cost. It got to a point where the Grand Cherokee became a status symbol. Like, it's right up there if you own a BMW or a Mercedes Jeep Grand Cherokee. Like, they're high-end vehicles, and so at that point, the parts and the technology and everything that they threw at it. So that takes us to the part where then Daimler didn't want to have anything to do with the Chrysler Corporation anymore. And so they sold the Chrysler Corporation to a holding company. And at that point, then you have a company that's kind of standalone, that's used to corporate backing, and now suddenly they don't have that corporate backing, and so they can't rely on other vehicles' parts to build it. Like when I was a kid growing up, Jeep stood for just everybody else's parts because it was just a huge, conglomerate of just all these, Chrysler parts, AMC parts, Kaiser parts, Daimler parts, Mercedes transmission in mine. Like it's all just like, it literally was just everybody else's parts. But then after Daimler got rid of them, they become their own, they were sold to a holding company, which means like all they have to do, like they don't have to do nothing big. They're not, they have no responsibility to really do anything with the company. And so at that point, a lot of their research and development dropped off. Any research and development that they did do cost them a lot of money, and they would have to pass that on to the customer because, they got to stay profitable. Until 2014, when Fiat bought the Chrysler company, and along with the Jeep and Dodge and all that stuff. And so, but Fiat is an Italian company. And so for anybody out there who has ever owned an Italian car, that getting the parts to have that car worked on is sometimes even worse than trying to get German parts to work on. That's why with the Grand Cherokee, when they done the facelift, Fiat took over in 2014. In 2015, they facelift the Grand Cherokee to make it more Fiat friendly, more along the lines of what Fiat wanted to do with everything. And that made everything even worse. And so now with the Stellantis Corporation, we'll kind of have to wait and see. The new Grand Cherokee L is out, the next version of the Grand Cherokee, the 3-row. They have the 4xe. But right off the bat, the other day I was looking at the prices, just the base prices of those vehicles, and honestly, they're completely out of my price range. Like I can't afford none of this stuff now, and so I don't even know how long I'm going to run with Jeep. I might have to switch over to something else. I don't know. But that's the story of why the new Jeeps, the parts are so expensive, they're so hard to work on, there's so much electronics, but they have a lot of goodies attached to it too. And that's pretty much the reason why it has gone that way. And that's what's happened to Jeep. And so thanks for watching this video. Go down there in the comments, write some more comments. We'll make more videos. We'll address your comments, your concerns, your questions. And thank you for watching.